Hey lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another Sims 4 tutorial. In this video I will show you how to use the tool mod by TwistedMaxi, a mod which can be used to rotate, elevate and duplicate objects and more. The builds you're using this mod for will be CC-free and unmodded in the gallery, so whoever downloads your builds won't need the mod, including console players. I will cover all the basics, including shortcuts and all functions, and I will also talk about my preferences and recommendations when it comes to settings and using the mod. I will promise after this video you will know how to use the tool mod, and if you have any questions you can simply leave a comment and I will get back to you. I will add timestamps to the description so you can jump to the parts you want to learn about. And first we will take a look at how to download and install the mod, and we are going to jump right in now. We are going to download the tool mod and Better BuildBuy by TwistedMaxi so we can use the tool mod in build mode, which is one of the new functions. So I'm going to add all the links you need to the description box. You can find the mods on twistedmaxi.com, where he links to his Patreon, where you can download the mods for free, but you can simply follow the links in the description and then we can just download and install the mod. So you simply follow the links and down here you click on TwistedMaxi's tool, and you also follow the other link and you download TwistedMaxi's Better BuildBuy and you download the zip files. Now you want to unzip both files. You've downloaded them and you have Better BuildBuy and Tool over here, and now we do this for both of them. So we have two folders. Now when I go into the folder, you will see that it's telling you to drag the folder above to the mods folder. So you take this complete folder and you move it into the mod folder, and you do the same for this one. You use this complete folder and move it to mods. The mods folder can be found in Documents, Electronic Arts, The Sims 4 mods. And as you can see here, there is my Better BuildBuy folder and my TwistedMaxi folder. Also ignore that some names are like super outdated. I only like leave the folder and move the stuff inside the folder into the new MCC folder, for example. And yeah, now we have the two folders in here and that's it. After doing this, you load up your game and then you go to game options, then you go to other, and then you have to enable script mods and custom content and mods. So you check these two boxes, you apply changes, you load up your game again, and that's it, and you should be good to go. First, we of course want to open the mod, and for this you go to build mode and then you press Shift T on your keyboard and you can see the tool extension opened up, and this way you know that you installed the mod correctly, that everything is working. When you press Shift T and nothing happens in build mode, you might want to check again if you moved the folder into the correct folder and all that. So you definitely want to go to build mode and press Shift T, and then the tool extension should open up. So this is the first step, and now we can take a look at all the basics. So we have opened the tool mod and I have placed a couple of base game tables. And first I'm going to show you how you can select objects, how you can select multiple objects. So we have pressed Shift T, so the tool extension is open, as you can see here. And now when I click on this object, it's green, which means that it's toggled. When I click on this one, the same happens. When I click on this one, the same happens as well. So when you simply click on any object, it gets toggled, which means it's selected. You could now rotate it, you could move it off lot, you could elevate it. It's selected and you can manipulate it using the tool mod. So that's all. You simply click on the object. But let's say I want to select multiple objects now. When I hold down Alt on my keyboard, I'm pressing it and I'm not letting go, and I'm clicking on this object, it gets added to the group. And the same happens when I click on this object and this object. So this way I can create a group. There's also another way using the grouping box. I'm also going to cover this in this video, but first I wanted to show you this very basic way. I really like to use this method a lot. The grouping box is also amazing, but it's not always the best choice in my opinion. It totally depends what you're working on. So just pressing down Alt is very simple, and I really like to use this method to select multiple objects and to create groups. So what you want to keep in mind is when you select multiple objects, you really want to make sure that you are not letting go of the Alt key, because otherwise you are like selecting multiple objects, and let's say you're selecting many objects and then at some point you let go. This happens because as soon as you are not pressing Alt and you click on an object, just as I've shown you in the beginning, you are only selecting one object. So make sure to not let go of the Alt key, and this way you can just create a group. And that's a very simple way to create a group. And now I'm going to show you how you can move these objects. So now I have selected my group. I could also only select only one object. This doesn't make a difference. And then I just click anywhere. So as you can see, I'm just clicking on the ground. I'm not pressing any key. I'm just clicking on the ground and I'm moving all these objects around. This is the first way to move objects. The other way that I really like to use is the gravity pull feature. For this, I'm first going to select only one object to explain this. So again, I'm just clicking on the ground and it's just jumping wherever I'm clicking. But now I'm once again holding Alt on my keyboard, and while I'm pressing Alt, I'm clicking on the ground. And as you can see, the object is slowly moving to the mouse cursor. This is the gravity pull. And you can see when it gets closer, it kind of becomes slower. So this way it allows you to be really precise when you position an object somewhere. I love this feature. It's one of the features that I probably use the most whenever I want to find the perfect position for multiple objects. When I create my round shapes, for example, I've created a nice curve and I want to find the correct position. I'm selecting multiple objects and then I hold down Alt, I click on the ground, and this way I find the perfect position. What you have to keep in mind, when you click on the ground, you can move your object, but let's say I would click on this object. It would, of course, just get added to the group, and the same happens when you click on a rug, for example, anything that's on the ground. So you always want to make sure that you click on a foundation piece, a platform, or just the lawn, just on the ground. So you want to make sure that you don't accidentally add more objects to your group when you use this feature. So you sometimes just have to figure out where to click, but I promise it's very simple and very intuitive. Once you've got all the basics down and you just start to play around with this mod, you will see how easy it is and you will just enjoy it so much. Also, let's say I have added this object to the group by accident. I'm once again holding down Alt and I click on this object. This way I can remove this object from the group and I can just return to moving my objects around. So when this happens, you click on a rug, for example, or any other object, then simply hold down Alt where you click on this object and you can remove it from the group. The other way to move objects is by using the move feature. So now we are going to take a look at all these options here, and we're starting off by using the move feature, which is at the top, which is perfect. So I have toggled this table, and when I now click on move, you can see that a grid appears and you can see that it's saying X and Y. I'm going to turn the camera around so it's not upside down, and you can see that the X is green and the Y is orange. So this is the indicator for where the table would be moving. You can here already see the example X, Y, and we are going to do the same thing. I'm going to go for 1 for X and 2 for Y. So now I'm clicking on OK and it's moving over like this. I personally don't use this option at all. I'm going to be honest. I wanted to cover it, but this tutorial is also about how I'm using the tool mod and what you see in my speed builds, and I'm never using this option. I always use the gravity pull or simply clicking on the ground. I think it's much more intuitive and convenient and much easier to use the gravity pull feature. I like that it's a part of the mod because some enjoy it and it's a nice option, but I'm never using it. And before we move on to all these other functions here, it's time for another basic, a shortcut, how to duplicate an object using Tool. This was highly requested. I've received so many comments about this. So now it's time to show you how to duplicate an object. I have the same table over here. I'm clicking on the table to toggle it. And now I'm simultaneously holding down Alt and Shift on my keyboard. Right now I'm pressing both keys and I don't let go. And now I click on the ground and that's it. I'm going to click a couple of more times on the ground, and as you can see, it's duplicating more and more tables. You can also duplicate a group this way, so I'm now holding down Alt to add more objects to the group, as I've already shown you. And now I'm again pressing down Shift and Alt on my keyboard. I'm not letting go, I'm pressing both keys. And now I'm clicking on the ground and this happens. This way you can duplicate as many objects as you want to. You can create groups. And as I always say, once you've created something on one lot and you just want to duplicate it, why should you put the work in again? You've already created it. You already put the work in. So this is just an amazing feature. I'm also going to show you a couple of tips and tricks later on and just some stuff that I like to use all these functions for. But let me tell you, it's just amazing. So now that we have covered the basics, we've taken a look at shortcuts, how to move objects, it's now time to take a look at elevate, rotate, and scale. First, we are going to talk about the elevate feature. So I've prepared a little something over here, and first I'm once again toggling my object. And now I can click on elevate and you can simply enter a number. I'm going to type in 1 and you can see that it's jumping up. You could also move objects into the ground. So let's say I'm entering -2. This happens. It's now in the ground and I'm going to enter this number to show you that it's down there and now it's sticking out. This is perfect for landscaping. If you want to move rocks into the ground, it's perfect for all kinds of different things. Or you want to just find the correct position on a table or something when you've sized a table down. This is such a versatile, amazing option. So I have prepared this over here. This is the shortest wall height available, as you can see. And now I'm going to toggle this object, and when I enter 3, you can see that it's sitting on top of my wall. I'm now going to change the wall height to the medium wall height, and now I'm toggling this object and I'm going to enter a 4 and this happens. I'm now changing the wall height to the tallest wall height available. I'm toggling this object and I'm typing in a 5 and this happens. So this is something to keep in mind. This way you have an indicator, you know which number to enter. And also in general, I feel like it's all about practice. And at some point you just get a feeling for which number to roughly enter. But it's always about just finding the correct number, just trying things out. You enter a number, then you add a bit of on top and all that. So there is like no real rule of thumb for this. But this year, the wall height is a great indicator that I wanted to show you. And now I show you the rotate feature, which is also very simple, intuitive, and amazing. One of my favorite features this mod has to offer. Once again, I'm toggling my object. I click on rotate. And here at the top, you can see that you can change the axis. The axis is this green circle that you can see. And by changing it, you change the direction into which your object will be tilted. So I'm changing the axis to this, you can see that I have a circle on the ground. So it's going to just turn around like this. Here you can see that you can enter a number between minus 360 and 360. This, of course, equals a complete circle, 360 degrees. So if I would enter 360 now, nothing would happen, of course, because it just gets turned around completely and it's in the same position again. But if I now enter 180, it's facing into the other direction, of course. So just as for the elevate feature, you can just enter random numbers. So let's say I would like to rotate this just a little bit and I enter this number, but then I think, maybe a little bit more. So I enter a 2 and I just find the correct position. You can do it like this, but when you think of the degrees and the logic behind this it just helps you in certain situations when you just want to turn an object around so it's facing into the opposite direction, or if you just want to move it like a quarter, so you enter 90 degrees, for example. So this is why I'm explaining this, but a lot of the times you just enter a number to just find the correct position, for example. And now I can also change my axis, so it looks like this. And now I'm just going to enter 20, and this happens. When I now enter minus 20, it's going to jump back to its original position. And I could now enter minus 20 again, and it's rotating into this direction. So this is the basic feature of the rotate feature. I can, of course, combine different directions. So now I have tilted my sofa this way. I'm going to change my axis after toggling the object, of course. Now it looks like this, and when I now enter 10, it looks like this. I mean, this is just a sofa, but I wanted to use this object because it's very clear, whereas the front and the back and the side, so you can really tell what I'm rotating. But you can rotate almost any object. There are certain debug objects which can't be rotated, so you always have to figure out if it's working. But for most objects, it's working just fine, and most objects are even still functional, so your Sims could probably sit on the sofa. So this is a lot of fun. So now there is one big main feature which was added to this version of the tool mod, and I'm going to show you what's going on. So I'm going to place a couple of sofas. I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm toggling the tool mod and I'm selecting my sofas. So I am now clicking on rotate again and I'm changing the axis, and now I'm going to enter 50, for example, and this happens. So now just imagine that I would like to have them lined up like this. So I just want them to rotate like this, but now they're just spread out like this. And now we have the rotate around center feature, which actually allows us to do this. So down here you can see rotate around center, and you click on this and you can see that the circle is changing. So now it has grouped all these objects, and when I now enter 50, this happens. This is really important for different things that you might create if you build a fence, for example. Let's say you line up lots of objects to create some type of decorative fence, for example, and then you just want to rotate the whole thing a bit. This is really important for this. So to give you an idea how important the rotate around center feature can be, I've created a fence using this object from Get Together, and now I'm going to toggle all of these fences, and now I go to rotate. I'm going to enter 10, and this happens. So this isn't a complete fence anymore, but now I'm going to activate the rotate around center feature. So this can be really important, and it's such an amazing feature. I have now placed a couple of base game windows, and I'm going to toggle all of them, with the first one being the exception. I now go to rotate, I deactivate the rotate around center feature, and I type in 15. I'm actually going to copy this because I'm going to enter this number again and again. I click on OK. I then untoggle this object. I go to rotate, I enter 15 again. I'm untoggling this object, and I'm doing the same thing over and over again. And now I can pick up each window and I can place all my windows right next to each other. And this is how you create a round window facade very, very quickly. And now we talk about the scale feature. I click on this object to toggle it and I go to scale, and when I now enter the number 1, nothing happens. This means that this object here already has the scale of 1. When I now enter a 2, this happens. So this is different for different objects. You might stumble upon an object that has the scale of 2, and usually when I want to scale an object up or down, I first try to figure out what scale it has, and then I just add something on top. So just as for elevate and rotate, you sometimes just have to enter different numbers to figure things out. So let's say I want to size this object down. This is its original size. I placed it again from BuildBuy. So as we've already figured out, if I type in 1, nothing is going to happen. This means that I can make it smaller by entering a number between 0 and 1, because we already know that 1 is its original size. So let's say I type in 0.5, it's going to get smaller. And you can do some really fun tricks using the scale feature. So I have placed 2 windows, I've toggled them, and I'm now going to enter a super small number, and what happens is they are invisible. This way you can create some custom windows, you can add some objects as some type of frame, and this just gives you different options. And when you use an object like this, some type of waterfall object, when you then once again enter a super small number, the frame is going to disappear and you are left with the animation. And this is just amazing for different things. It also works with some of the decorative pieces that you can find in the pool area. Some of them have animations, some waterfalls, so you can use some do some fun tricks using this feature. You can also, I think, place a microwave on a kitchen counter and then make the kitchen counter disappear this way. So basically you can turn objects invisible, but they are still there, which is just super fun. So now let's talk about the grouping box feature, some options, just some important things. So the grouping box feature is really simple. You activate tool as always, then you hold down shift on your keyboard and then you click on the ground, and then you click on the ground again to create this box. It's really intuitive. There is only one thing to keep in mind. You can see that this box is having the same direction as the lot, but for some lots it's like tilted, so it might be facing into this direction. This makes things a bit confusing. You will totally know what I'm talking about as soon as you encounter it, but there's no fix for this. You then just have to click around to kind of create the grouping box in the correct place. And when you then create your grouping box, you then go to options and you click on toggle group. And then you have toggled them, and as always you can just move them around, you can rotate them, you can do all kinds of different things. And when you click on toggle group again, it untoggles your group. This is generally amazing even when you don't use the grouping box. When you are not sure if you have any toggled objects somewhere, just click on toggle group and it's untoggling everything. And when you then go back to options and you click on hide grouping box, it's going to hide the grouping box and you can create a new one if you would like to. And it's really easy and just really helpful. I most of the time just use the function that I've shown you in the beginning where I'm pressing Alt, but sometimes it's just really great, especially when you have placed lots of objects and you just want to toggle them all at once, like really helpful. So now we are going to talk about the different settings and some other options. So down here you click on options, and then we have different options. Undo and redo. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Then we have toggle group. We've already talked about this. Then we have delete group. When you create a group, so I'm going to select these two objects, and when you then click on delete group, it's gone. I'm going to undo this, but you can simply use this function to delete objects. Then we have hide grouping box. We already talked about grouping boxes. And then we have change settings down here, which is really interesting. First, I want to talk about snap to terrain. This is, in my opinion, the most important option. Like when you look at all these different options, you can ignore most of them, in my opinion, at least I do. But this here is really important because it does make a difference. And I'm going to show you why. So first I'm going to show you this object over here. It's floating, as you can see. I erased it, and snap to terrain is deactivated. I'm going to use the gravity pull, and I'm moving this object around, and you can see that it's still floating. So this doesn't make a difference. I'm just changing the position, but the object is still floating. Now I toggle snap to terrain. When I now use the gravity pull, you can see that it becomes lower and lower. When I just click somewhere, it's on the ground. It snaps to the terrain. I'm also going to show you what it does over here. I deactivated it again. I'm toggling this object, and I click on top of this hill, and it's gone. I mean, it's not really gone. I'm going to use the gravity pull now, and you can see how it's coming out of the terrain. This is perfect if you want to merge some objects into the terrain, for example. Now I activate it, and it sits on the terrain. I have this option always deactivated usually, but this depends. Like, it depends what you prefer, what you build, how you build, but personally it's always deactivated for me most of the time because I raise objects all the time, and when I move them around using gravity pull, I don't want them to just get lower and lower, so this is why it's always deactivated for me. The other option that is interesting here is set dialog position. You can have the dialog in the center, or you can move it to the left. That's what I do, or anywhere you want. So this way it's just not in the way. So it's not like in the center. This way you see what's going on. Personally, I prefer it on the left side. And you can also change some colors. You already saw the grid, the X and Y when I showed you how to move objects. You can change the color for that here. And the rotation color, the indicator for the axis, which is green by default, can also be changed here if you would like to. But this it's just visual, so it doesn't really matter that much. But you should really definitely take a look at snap to terrain, play around with this, and see what's working for you personally. And that's it. I covered the whole T.O.O.L mod. I hope I didn't forget anything. If you still have any questions, leave a comment down below and I will get back to you. I will help you. You can also always join my Discord, where I can help and some others can help, so check out the Discord link in the description box. And a big thank you again to Twisted Maxi for creating his amazing mods. All he does is just amazing, so a big shout out to him. If you haven't checked out his other mods, I highly recommend doing so because he's amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye!